My one interest was and remains to this day a desire as an engineer to solve problems, any form of problem, right? Whether it is how much light is there or how much sound is there, I constantly think about solving problems. And the second is I love to help people. And at one level I would may have liked to be a doctor, because if you just generally want to help people, that is one way to do it. But given my engineering degree, that's not an easy thing to do. I did think of bioengineering, but you know and and so the combination, the overlap of problem solving with the desire to help people naturally led me to consulting. Boss at HP, she was an American woman, as a woman, and her husband, they sort of adopted us because I was an immigrant. They'd invite us for Thanksgiving and various other things. And her husband was an ex-McKinsey partner. But he had retired and started his own consulting firm. So he asked me to join him. He said, "You're not an HP person, you're a consultant. So please join me." But he had a small 50 people firm, and I was sort of this immigrant from India who had a global perspective. And I said, "No, I really can't help you with your tiny firms." And he said, "Well, then the second best consulting firm, I'd say, after my own," he told me, is McKinsey. So then you should join McKinsey, but don't work at HP. I was able to be an entrepreneur within McKinsey. I guess the term is called intrapreneur, which is an internal entrepreneur. And I did that all my life. I was probably one of the most uh, uh, prolific entrepreneurs within the firm. I opened, within 2 years of joining, I was just 28, I think. I opened the San Jose office, Silicon Valley office, with the senior partner, because I was too junior to do it alone. Then I helped to come to India, open the India office. Then I started the outsourcing and offshoring practice. Then I started a practice called business building, which is to help large companies build new businesses for growth. Then I started the globalization practice, and I'm sure I've forgotten one or two others. But the point is, I just started new things, and it was a good platform. It's kind of interesting because when I started, they thought I'd tell them, I'd go to meet people and I'd say, "Oh, I'm from McKinsey," and they'd think I'm from a shipping company called McKinnon McKinsey. No one in India had heard of McKinsey. So they said, "Oh, okay, you're from a shipping company." I said, "No, no." And it was, I think the good news is the more the Indian economy has liberalized, the more it has opened itself to global competition, the more important it is for Indian companies to be able to compete. And so they want the best practices. So, what a consultant typically does is, at one level, it teaches us clients how do you at least establish yourself as best in class. How can you be really good at what you do? And then hopefully, how can you outcompete and grow globally as an Indian company? So now there's an interesting mix. I think some companies in India feel that they are facing foreign competition, be it from China, Korea, wherever, and so they need to improve their performance. So consultants are really they they they're open to consulting suggestions, and others are ambitious outside the borders of India. They want to grow globally, and even then they ask for consulting experience. So, as you know, I left McKinsey 8 years ago, and in the last 2, 3 years, I had as a client what I think is a jewel of a company called Gallup. Gallup are well known for being a market research and polling company, but they do superb analytics, but largely consumer analytics. But they have such a wealth of data and really good insight based on being able to harness that market research, that as an example, I want to use Gallup as an example because they have this one pillar of analytics proprietary data. There's the other pillar of being able to have consulting with the McKinsey like consulting practices. There's a third pillar of software applications which you can then deploy. You can uh, put AI and intelligence into software that can use that data and also then make it available to the consultants to actually help their clients. So I think the future of consulting will have these three elements. I think what is great here, and I learned the most, and what really has helped me is IIT. For me, IIT was extraordinary. The second thing that growing up in India teaches you, and I was going to talk about it in my thing today, is living with uncertainty. Never knew if you go to the airport, like today, I have to go to Jolly Grant Airport. I have no idea if there's going to be a car accident, it will take half an hour more, half an hour less. So you constantly learn to do contingency planning. You do backup planning all the time. We are living in a more uncertain world, and so Indians naturally will do well. I'd say the thing that India lacks compared to what I saw on the West is they are taught to question everything. If it's written in a book, doesn't mean it's real. They are taught right from when they're 10 years old or even younger, question, question, question. Don't take for granted what your teachers told you. Uh, get into a discussion, get into a discourse. The Israelis are extremely good at that. Their way of teaching is to pair up two people, especially on their religious texts, because their religious text, like the Gita or the Mahabharata for us, is very complex. It's filled with ambiguity. It's going to be hard to deal with that. I was in Germany earlier this week, and I met someone who's very senior at BMW, and he was explaining how BMW does so much of the manufacturing. He says German citizens for buying a BMW 3 Series in Germany, that car is made in America. So, so then what is the nationalism about? So, if you're going to create a trade barrier, does that, it's going to really affect American jobs and so on, because they won't be able to make a car, a BMW car in America for sale into Germany, right? If you create a tariff. So I think this is a complex issue that still has to get sorted out in terms of world trade. Because the actual flow, there are many flows in world trade. There's actual physical goods flow, which is the easiest to understand. But there's intellectual property flow, which some of our KPO, I started the McKinsey Knowledge Center here, which is a KPO. So KPO, if you're developing IP here and someone else is going to use it somewhere else, what happens with the trade or flow of intellectual property? So that's a different one. There's financial flows. So if you start putting barriers to these, it's going to make it pretty complex pretty quickly. Uh, Consultant walks into a bar uh, and tries to figure out how many drinks are sold a night.